everybody. All right, so let me kind of officially kick this off and share with you today on our live. The topic is definitely a personal story. For those that know me, this is going to be a kind of a difficult stories to share and to share this all with you. So might want to grab a box of tissues. I'm gonna probably should grab one myself. Come to think of it here. But it is a difficult story to share. But I feel like it's so important that we're vulnerable, and I think more than anything, what's really important, you guys have heard me talk about earlier topics, whether it was emotional accuracy, whether it was the challenges of hiring right now due to a very real mental health crisis. You've heard me be a huge advocate for therapy, to people, and just a believer that, there really doesn't and shouldn't be any stigma around mental health, mental illness. There shouldn't be any stigma around people going to therapy, whether it's for individual therapy or if it's for couples. I'm just a believer that that is, just the epitome of somebody who's really strong saying, I'm not perfect. I don't know the answers all the time. I don't know how to express myself the best way all the time. What are tools that I can put in my toolbox to make sure that I'm able and working towards every day, just trying to be the best version of myself. So you've heard me all talk about that and just advocate for it. And I think something that really occurred to me, especially because of some events over the last few weeks, was just how important it is, I think, that other people might have this perception that they got it all together, that they have their emotions in check and under control, that they've maybe never struggled with mental illness before. I think it's really important that those people, especially on social media, especially for people who are on YouTube, especially people who just might be in a more public situation of some kind, that those people are the ones who come forward and say, no, guess what? We struggle with it too. That's how stigmas are gotten rid of, is by talking about it and by people prioritizing sharing their authentic selves, and not a perception that they would like people to have of themselves. So again, I'm gonna take a risk here, be super vulnerable, and hope that this is a safe space, and really have my motivation be that I just want other people to benefit from this. Like, if anyone comes away from this video today in this live or in the future, that they can come away from it going, man, I didn't realize that other people struggled with this too, or have been through situations like this before. And I will tell you, I am not at the end of my journey. I still have some, follow-ups and things like that I have to deal with. So I will continue to update you and share with you the progress that's being made and what's going on. But anyway, I kind of did a little bit of a recap for you in terms of, 2020, obviously pandemic year, the whole world is facing, all of us facing those challenges. We certainly here, even though in many ways from a business perspective, we were pandemic prepared, who knew? And we managed to do that really beautifully. Obviously, being a mom and my husband and the two of us having 4 little ones at the time under the 9 and under, dealing with virtual schooling, we all had our stresses happening during that time. But needless to say, when my mom started showing signs of having some kind of health issue, and I think this is a really important context to give, which is the part where I'm going to start getting emotional. So my mom, 78 years old at the time, is, she is a little firecracker. That's the way I would describe her. She's got incredible energy. She's led this beautiful, healthy life. She has never smoked a day in her life. She's never been a drinker of any kind. She's never used any kind of unhealthy substances of any sort in her body. She's always been super active. She's made good health food decisions, you name it. And she's just, an all-around incredible person. So I think there was a shock, to say the least, among me and my brother, my sister, my in-laws, anybody who has been close to my mom throughout the course of her life. It was definitely a shock to us to get this news back in October, that it could be cancer related, and then ultimately find out that the diagnosis was for non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so, we, all kind of, I think, we're dealing with the initial shock of that. I am extremely close to my parents, always have been. There is not a person who would be close to me that didn't meet or know my parents before. They were just the best parents to me growing up, and there for me. And as I became an adult in a super healthy way, they became some of my best friends. We travel together, we do everything together, we see each other every week. They were a huge part of when I got married and had my kids, and still are to this very day. So you can imagine this was like a huge shock to me, and everybody else, my brother and my sister, of course, as well. So I think, we just kind of came together at that point and said, what do we need to do? And we kind of emotionally let ourselves go through hearing this information. I tend to be the type, and this has been a pattern of mine, when I have a lot on my mind, especially something that's like emotionally stressful, I fall. Like, it's this weird pattern I've had, and really and specifically, not only do I fall, I have a tendency to roll my right ankle. Lo and behold, December 19th, when we had our first snowstorm come through Maryland, it was the next day. Everything, as much as it was going to be, was cleaned up. I was cleaning up the car, and I was heading to a hair appointment, of all things, and I hit a patch of ice and instantly broke my ankle. Never broke anything in my life, so it was a huge shock in terms of going through that experience, facing a lot of my fears associated with dealing with that situation. Went through, like I said, a major reconstructive surgery, went through really dark moments, I feel like, where I questioned and worried that I would never walk again properly and be able to take care of myself, which you can imagine with 4 kids and a corporation to run, that was a really hard pill to swallow at various times. But again, I always try to find the silver lining, and the blessings in disguise, I think, was at that point, like, one, seeing my amazing team come through for me and make sure that, business continued to run, because Lord knows that was like the last thing I needed, was for things to fall apart there. The other thing it kind of like kept my mom and dad busy, like, for them to focus on not like anticipation of my mom entering into chemotherapy, but like to focus their energy on just being with their family and their kids and their grandkids and with me. My mom started in the new year on chemotherapy. I continued through my healing process, and you can imagine that was a really difficult thing for me to not be able to be there for her, because I felt like that was my chance to like care for her and be there for them the way they had been there for me so many times throughout everything in life. But we got through it. We got through it. I slowly but surely started to heal, and was in a position where I was able to do more. So flash forward to about a month ago, we get this incredible news that my mom her blood had been officially declared as cancer-free. She responded beautifully to the treatments. We're so blessed here in Baltimore to have the best healthcare in the world, and they really had an amazing plan for her, and they did it, and it happened, and I just felt myself, like, for the first time after getting this news, I just felt myself kind of breathe for the first time. That's the way I would describe it. I felt like I was holding my breath during that whole time, and really hadn't like dealt with any of my own personal traumas from the situation, and hadn't really processed her situation. So it was really the first time I did that. About a week and a half to 2 weeks later, my parents come over and they tell me that apparently there had been some sort of lesion in the upper left lobe of my mom's lungs that they had seen back when they originally ran PET scans, because she had, cancer in the lymph nodes. So they run a full scan from the top of your head all the way down to your knees. And they had found some kind of a lesion, which they didn't really believe was anything to be concerned about. They just kind of said, maybe it was some kind of previous infection or something like that. But bottom line was they had bigger fish to fry, and they kind of just, said, we'll deal with that after we get you through treatment. So they, as intended, they did a follow-up. And at that point, they did a biopsy, and it came back as cancer. So I know a lot of my teammates here are going to be shocked to hear this, because I haven't had the courage, I think, or just the ability to process it. I feel like I kind of hit my wall in terms of like how much I could hear, and basically did something that's not like me, which is I really internalized the situation. I really didn't want to think about it. I tried to kind of hyper logic my way out of the magnitude of this news. The hard part, I think, about this was I wasn't really understanding the type of damage I was doing to myself at the time by not letting myself process it, not letting myself feel my way through it, and just kind of holding it all in and just going it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be fine, oh, this, that, and the other, just trying to. But I think what ended up happening, and this is the best based on my therapist and who I meet with and talking to him about it, was it, it is crazy what the body can do to itself when you're stressed. Like when you're having that level of stress in your body, it is great, and you're holding it in and you're not really like dealing or coping or, acknowledging it, you can really do some real damage to yourself. So, I kind of just, I guess, was trying to be numb and compartmentalize. Lo and behold, we went on a family trip. I joke and say you can't call family vacations because they're trips because of the amount of work that goes into trips with kids. So, we went on a family trip to the beach for a couple of weeks, and my mom at this time too was like doing a whole bunch of follow-up tests and getting information about like what's next and what is this and what stage is it. So that was all going on, and they were really hoping to join us at the beach, but they weren't sure because it just depended on their appointment schedule. So we got to the beach, and then, about a week into it, they were able to come out. So they came out and they stayed with us, and we went out to dinner to meet up with my aunt and uncle. And when I was at dinner, I was feeling fine all of that time, at least I thought I was. And we got to dinner and I sat down and I had what felt like just like a major heart palpitation. And then afterwards I felt really like I was about to pass out. I think that kind of set me into a tailspin because I started really worrying that something else more serious was going on with me. For anybody who has had panic attacks before, I never have. So maybe for folks who've had panic attacks before, that's something that they can identify. But in my situation, all I knew was that I was terrified. That's all I knew in that situation. I think for any mother, when you have kids, like one of the things that you're the most afraid of is to not be around for them. Like if something happens to you, it's like second, of course, only to, God forbid, something happening to them, but I think it's a very real fear that as a mom that we have, a fear of like not being around for our kids. So it really started to consume me. Like I feel like I really started thinking about it all the time and just being really scared. And each day after last week ago, Wednesday, when this occurred, each day I felt myself like getting kind of deeper into it, and I kept having these like near pass out episodes, and I felt like my throat was closing up on me and my chest was tightening on me, and the more I thought I was like having some kind of cardiac event until Saturday. And the crazy part was like when I was busy, when I was doing stuff with the kids, when I was moving around, I felt fine. I would have these moments like when I would sit down and like take a breath and just like take a break, and all of a sudden I'd start having this feeling like I was about to pass out. So Saturday rolls around, we pack up the beach house that we were staying at, we head home. I feel pretty fine, like I wasn't like having any struggles. Saturday night rolls around and we get home, and I was just like completely consumed. As soon as after we got everything done and unpacked and I sat down, I just really like felt again like I was about to pass out, and my throat and my chest was just tightening up on me. And at this point, we call Kristen, could you please come over to the house? And Tony takes me to urgent care, to just like, for me, it was like, I just have to figure out what's going on. So we went to urgent care, and, I told them that I was worried I was having a heart attack, and they ran me through the process of, getting an EKG. And I wasn't really paying attention at the time, but they were training this new girl, and they were kind of a mess with doing the EKG. And lo and behold, what ends up happening is that they tell me, oh yeah, there's some kind of abnormality showing up on your EKG, you need to go to the ER. So needless to say, I'm freaked out even more by this point. And as somebody who normally has a phenomenal blood pressure, my blood pressure was up to 160, which was like very high for me. So I think I was reacting at the time to more and more stress happening. So we get to the ER, they run EKGs, they run all my blood work, they run x-rays, they do everything, to the T, what they're supposed to do, checking out for a cardiac event. And thank God I was cleared of everything. Everything was normal. When the doctor kind of came in after all these tests had been run and I'd been there for a couple hours, the doctor was like, so do you have a lot of stress going on in your life right now? And I was like, yeah, you might say that, but again, I don't know if at that point it had really hit me, like, is that what's going on here? is that's what's causing, like, is that possible? Like, I just remember thinking to myself, like, how is that possible? How is it possible, like, stress that I have in my mind is having such a huge effect on me physically? Like, it never really crossed my mind. I wanted to share that because, again, it was a shock to me. I had never had an experience like this before. Hearing that other people, like, saying, like, yes, we've been through a situation like this before. Even my own therapist, you know, he unfortunately is a widower, and he, like, when his wife was sick and dying, you know, he had panic attacks, you know. Again, we talked about just, like, it is pretty, like, shocking, you know, how impactful what's going on with you from a stress level or in your mind can have such a dramatic effect on you physically. So, I did go home. I was released. I wasn't admitted to the hospital on Saturday, and I came home, and you know, I was thankful that I went, because I feel like I would have just continued to spin. I would have been really scared and even more terrified if I wouldn't have gone, because I would continue to worry, like, what is it? Like, what's going on with me? But at the same time, it's like, I guess I'm, like, looking for this, like, magic, like, I'm just gonna magically wake up one morning and, like, just feel completely 100% normal again. And instead, it's definitely been a process for me every day, you know, Sunday through today, of, like, really having to put into practice some skills to manage this. Like, let myself, when I want to cry, like right now, I cry. You know, when I need to talk about it, I talk about it. When I don't need to talk about it, I don't. And, you know, breathing and just focusing on breathing and staying busy. I mean, if anything, I got to tell you, the upside to this whole thing is like, now that my ankle has gotten to a point in recovery that I can be exercising and walking and doing that again and releasing some good endorphins in my system, like, that's been a huge upside benefit to this. And getting to outside and getting in some vitamin D, because, you know, we have a sedentary job here, and it's easy to just, you know, sit around and not get out. And, you know, and I think also is prioritizing myself, including, like, letting things go. Like, there were things in life that I had kind of signed myself up for, because I'm known for just, like, wanting to be busy all the time. But, like, going, and this is the message in the title of this video, is to say, like, what really matters? What really matters? And, like, to me, and I know that it's different for everybody, but, like, for me, what really matters in life is my kids, my husband, my family, my parents, my brothers, my sisters, and my best friends that are, you know, my family, and my team that's on here with me, and my business, because they matter so deeply to me. And you know, just living life, and you know, doing things in life I enjoy, like, you know, hobbies in terms of design work and stuff like that, and just saying it's okay that that's all I do. I don't have to set myself up for some weird obligation that I'm supposed to do a million other things. So it's just been really a process, and I'm still at it, guys. Like, I have, you know, I went to PT for my ankle on Tuesday, and that felt great. I went to, you know, see my ortho today, and he said everything's great with, you know, my ankle, and he's thrilled with how things are progressing there. And then tomorrow I follow up with my primary care physician, and I'm going to have him do a full workup, because I need that at this point. I need to have a confirmation that, like, you know, everything's where it's supposed to be, and to just not have to invest any brain space on fear or worry around that, and just, like, do what I need to do to continue to heal. But yeah, I'm still having episodes in terms of feeling like at any various times throughout the course of a day I could pass out. So I'm not really sure what that's all about, but we're going to hopefully get to the bottom of it soon here. That lead up, that when I think back to the week before the episode last week, when I was on vacation, and even right before I left, I really felt like mortality was just punching me in the face. You know, between having this woman who is just led this incredibly healthy life, you know, facing such challenging medical issues, and, you know, and have that be my mom, and have that, of course, I'm associating as a mother to that situation and having fears with it. Then hearing a high school friend of mine suddenly passed away. Then hearing everything going on with India with COVID. We also received news that one of my husband's close friends and cousin actually died of COVID, and he was only 38. They're really struggling, I think, still to know that there's anyone on this planet that doesn't take this virus seriously, and with that lack of seriousness towards the virus, that they could be putting other people in harm's way. Like, it's a really again, it's just mortality, like coming and hitting me from multiple directions. My hope is that with like all my videos that I do, that you guys are able to take something away to say, hey, here's this person who seems to have it all together, right? And I also struggle with things in life. I also have fears. I also am struggling with my own, emotional, things going on. And I'm okay with that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should be more personal. Maybe I should be more private in my life. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just more of a private person. And that's fine. I'm not. I'm not a very private person. I'm super transparent, and I'm okay with people knowing this. And if other people in life can benefit like from hearing this and hearing and not feeling like they're like weird or like alone in what they're struggling with, that's worth it for me, just for that one person. I want to advocate for people out there, advocate for therapy, advocate for recognizing what your limits are, recognizing what it is in life that's really important to you. If you're like me, what's important to me is to take care of the people that I love and I care about, even at the risk of being the bad guy sometimes. Lord knows, sometimes when you're the direct one, when you're speaking honestly all the time, when you're someone who is not afraid to tell people things that they don't want to hear, it's really easy to be made out to be the bad guy. But I'm okay with that, because I think what's more important is people taking care of each other and looking out for each other and not pretending. And so, those were all my motivations for doing this video today. I hope that you guys benefited from it. But thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for your support. I just hope that this is something that everybody can look at this video and kind of take some time to themselves and go, hey, what is it? What's really important, and what do I want for my life moving forward?